at URI. And lots of you that are on this panel right now are going to have me this semester as one of your instructors. But thanks for coming to this Health Industries Week alumni panel that is hosted by the Center for Career and Experiential Education. We've got some really great panelists here today. So I am going to jump in and ask each panelist to briefly introduce yourself. What is your current role? And what organization are you currently working for? And I have Ashley first up on my screen. So Ashley, go ahead.
Hi, thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name's Ashley Shehab. I am the Director of Client Programs and Strategy at Wellness Workdays. Wellness Workdays is a corporate wellness company based in Massachusetts. So we develop wellness programs for businesses and organizations across all industries. And I help to create and design those programs. And I graduated from URI with my bachelor's in nutrition, went on to get my master's at Tufts and complete my dietetic internship there. So I'm also a registered dietitian. So I'm very excited to be here today.
Thanks, Ashley. Courtney, you're up next.
Hi, everyone. My name is Courtney Lichtai. I'm an associate case manager with Alumni Pharmaceuticals. So we look at rare diseases and we work on getting those medications for rare diseases to patients. And I graduated from URI with a bachelor's in nutrition in 2020 and then got my MPH at Simmons immediately following.
Thank you. Fred, you're next.
Hello everyone, I'm Fred Adu. I'm currently working at Brown University Health as a diet technician. I work closely with the dietitians to help support patients, especially mainly with their dietetic needs, depending on their disease condition. Mostly working with patients and coming to the hospital with diabetes, renal diseases, cardiovascular diseases, and anything related to their nutritional health.
Thanks, Fred. And Sherry.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Sherry Blanchette, and I'm a registered dietitian and principal resource specialist for the WIC program here at the Rhode Island Department of Health. And the WIC program is now in its 51st year, so very exciting for us. And it's a supplemental nutrition education program for women, infants, and children. In my current role, I oversee vendor compliance, I process WIC store applications, conduct vendor trainings, and I manage on-site inspections. And as a registered dietitian, I'm able to review and approve items for our approved product list, which currently is over 7,000 food items. And during the summer, which is just coming up, I also help coordinate our farmers market program, which provides locally grown fresh produce to our participants through local farmers. So it's a program that we really advocate for, and it's probably one of the best parts of my program that I enjoy, anyways. So I graduated from URI in 2001 with a bachelor's degree in dietetics. And fast forward to 2012, where I graduated and from Brooklyn College with a coordinated master's degree and completed the dietetics program there. And that was also the same year that I became a registered dietitian.
Thanks, Sherry. Kristen, has Adam hopped on? I can't tell if he's here anywhere.
I don't see him. So
Okay,
I
well,
think we're going to move forward.
all right. Well, when he hops in, I'll certainly have him introduce himself. But now I want to open this up to all of the panelists. Please feel free to answer in any order. But can you tell us a little bit about your journey since you graduated from URI and about the steps that led you to the position that you're in right now?
I can start. So I graduated in 2012, and like I said, I went on to get my master's and complete my dietetic internship at Tufts. And I really thought that I wanted to be a clinical dietitian. I thought I wanted to be in a hospital. But as I completed my internship, I just found that that was not the environment that I really saw myself working in. Um, so when I completed my internship, I was kind of felt a little bit lost, honestly. I wasn't sure, where I wanted to land or what I wanted to do with my degree. And I went to a conference and I saw my current boss present at that conference. And she kind of opened my eyes to corporate wellness because I had never heard of it before. But it made a lot of sense to me, working with employees where they spend all day at work. That's a really good time to, hopefully help them practice some healthier behaviors or, where you can really have an impact. So I went home and I looked up her company and she happened to be hiring a wellness dietitian. So I applied and got the position and I just started kind of going out to these companies, giving presentations, doing behavior change programs and some health coaching. And then a couple of years in, I moved over to the account side. So now my focus is on designing the programs. So, working with our clients to understand what are their goals for the program. Are they looking to reduce healthcare costs? Are they looking for a program that's just a morale booster? What are they really trying to accomplish? And then I design a program that will help them to meet those goals. So it's a lot more, I still do some of the wellness piece. I still do some presentations, but it's mostly the account strategy and client management that I've been involved in for the past 7 years or so. And I really enjoy that. So I just kind of lucked out to go to that conference and, see my boss and meet my boss that day. And it just kind of all snowballed from there. But it's been a really cool career trajectory and something that I was not expecting when I started my journey in nutrition.
I could also go next. Um, so I graduated with my undergrad from Ghana in 2022. So I did my undergrad in public health nutrition and then got the opportunity a year later to come and do my master's at URI in nutrition department. And then graduated in 2025. That's last year, May, with a master's in nutrition and food science. So after graduation, we have the whole thing where we are looking for what to do next. Fortunately, I got an interview with the people at Brown University Health to interview as a diet technician, and I saw this as a great opportunity for me because my major goal, one of my aims is also to get my RD license, and I saw that as an opportunity to work with other dietitians in the clinical field and also gain that practical experience. So while working at Brown or currently working at Brown University Health, I have got the opportunity to have this practical experience. I've met with patients with presenting with different health conditions, got the opportunity to ask other dietitians questions about how their work works, how they do their work in the field. I also have had the opportunity to practice my research skills, especially while I was in URI. So I presented a thesis, I presented a thesis on assessing sodium and potassium intake using different assessment methods to see a more reliable and cost-effective assessment method. So while I'm at Brown University, I'm also applying to URI. I applied to URI, got the chance to come back. Right now, the only challenge is funding. But with that opportunity, I would also get the chance to further my experience in the field of research. So it's still a learning process. I'm still learning a lot, and that's what I'm up to now.
I can go next. So as I said, I'm an associate case manager, but after my undergrad degree at URI, which is when I started working in a pharmacy as well as a pharmacy tech, I moved into working at WIC. So I was a nutrition counselor there, which was a wonderful experience. I really, really enjoyed it. And it kind of made me realize I enjoyed the patient facing roles. Um, and then, due to change of circumstance, I moved out of the state. So I was looking for a new position, which is when I found Optum. And with my public health master's, I was able to move into more of a population health role where I was similar to what Ashley had mentioned, designing programs for the company that I was contracted with. And then most recently, I knew I wanted to get back a little bit more to the pharma side with my nutrition and public health background. So I moved into my case manager role about 6 months ago. And that's been a really wonderful experience working more with patients as well as within the pharma industry as a whole. So looking at the insurance piece of it as well.
Okay, I'll go next. Um, so as I said, I graduated from URI in 2001, and my first job out of college was working as a nutritionist, so for the WIC program also, like Courtney. And for me, it was a really great introduction to community nutrition as well as prenatal, postpartum, infant, and child nutrition. And I feel like this first experience was where I really developed a passion for community nutrition and addressing health disparities, and I definitely still feel that same way today. Then I relocated to New York City in 2004. I continued to work for several WIC programs in different roles throughout Brooklyn and Manhattan until I decided to return to school. And I completed the coordinated master's program in dietetics at Brooklyn College and became a registered dietitian, as I said, in 2012. And it took me about 2.5 years because I continued to work while I completed the program. Um, I think the dietetic internship was really where I was exposed to all the diverse nutrition careers, and that helped me shape my professional path, definitely. It was through the internship that I learned like what I really liked in that field, what I disliked, and what my possible career choices were. Um, and I would say definitely at that point, what I learned right away was clinical nutrition in a hospital setting was not for me. The pace of it definitely, I just couldn't see myself doing that. So that's what's great about the dietetic internship is you're really getting that experience and you can kind of figure out what you like, what you don't like, and it helps you to figure out what your possible career path will be. Um, and then once I became a registered dietitian, there was definitely a lot more opportunities for me. And I was promoted at the health center that I was currently working at. So I became a clinical nutritionist there. And I gained experience in adult nutrition, which was different for me at that time. And I helped manage patients with chronic conditions like heart disease, type 2 diabetes. And at this time, I also began working as a per diem dietitian at a small specialty hospital. And that was my first introduction, aside from the internship as to clinical nutrition in a hospital setting, but the hospital was very unique. So it mostly conducted outpatient surgeries, so I only had one floor dedicated to inpatient care. So it was very small, um, very realistic pace for me as far as clinical nutrition in that setting goes. And the caseload was much more manageable than what I had experienced during my internship. Um, and about after a year of working there, I was then offered a position as a clinical nutrition manager. And another great experience for me also, because it combined clinical nutrition work with food service management. And it was, again, very unique. And I love doing both of those things. So this gave me the opportunity, this position, to develop and implement nutrition care plans while also overseeing the daily operations of a food establishment. Then I had my son in 2016, so I relocated back to Rhode Island. and I began working part-time as an outpatient dietitian in a doctor's office. And through this job, I was able to help patients again manage their health conditions, improve their quality of life, and offer personalized nutrition counseling. And then I ended up going back to work full time in 2019, and I saw an online job posting as a public health nutritionist at the Rhode Island Department of Health. So I said, you know what? Why not try something else? And I accepted the position and began working for the Center for Healthcare Facilities Regulations. And in this position, it was my first time working in a long-term care setting. I learned a lot about long-term care facilities, regulations, and specifically food and nutrition regulations. It was a very fast-paced job, very intense, very, very challenging work. I learned so much, and I worked with a great group of people, a lot of registered nurses over there, and I realized how vulnerable this type of community really was and how much advocating they needed. I stayed there through probably 2021, and then I saw a posting for the WIC program as a principal resource specialist. And I just felt like I needed a change, especially after I had gone through working with the healthcare facilities department through COVID. So I decided to transition to my current role with the WIC, where I continue to advocate for community health. And I kind of feel like I've come first full circle with that. But at the same time, I don't think my career is over yet, my journey. And that's exciting for me. I don't know, what my next path will be. But I will say that what's great about the Department of Health is there's always so many opportunities for growth within the organization. So I'm excited to see what the future holds for me. So I've had quite a journey so far, but it's not over yet.
Thanks to everyone for sharing. And I really hope that that shows you that there is no one path to a career and to a job. There are many different ways to get there, and it's going to look very different person to person. Um, so Sherry, you definitely touched upon this. But for others, like, how did you decide that this was the right career path for you? Were there specific experiences or courses or other jobs, mentors that helped you figure out this is where you wanted to be?
I can speak to this a little bit. So I had initially started my time at URI as a pharmacy major with a minor in nutrition and very quickly realized that my nutrition classes were by far my favorite. So I decided to only do a nutrition degree, which I thoroughly enjoyed while still maintaining my pharmacy internships. So I got to see a little bit of both sides of it while pursuing the nutrition side. Um, and then when I graduated, or I'm sorry, before I graduated, my internship with SNAP was up in Providence. So I did that where I was teaching individuals how to cook, which was very rewarding. I had a lot of fun doing that, but it showed me that I really enjoyed the community piece, especially at that point in my life. So once I graduated from I knew I wanted to stick with something in the community. So that's kind of how I landed with WIC. And I thought focusing on prenatal, postnatal nutrition, and infant nutrition was going to be just a great new challenge and something that I would have a lot of interest in doing. So I did that. I worked full time for WIC while also completing my master's, which I pursued a public health master's since I felt like it gave me a fair amount of flexibility since I wasn't quite sure what direction I wanted to go. I knew I liked what I was doing, but I wanted to explore other things as well. So while I was doing that as well, I started to look into various ways to use a public health degree. So that led me into the corporate wellness side, where being able to look at the overall health programs that companies are offering is something that even is a career option, which I didn't know during undergrad. So that led me then into my time with Optum, so designing public health programs for larger companies. And I really enjoyed that. But there was a piece of me that still wanted to go back to something that was a little bit more pharmacy related, which led me to where I am currently with working directly with patients, navigating their care and making sure that they're able to receive treatment and work through insurance issues, as well as work through the diagnosis piece that they are experiencing. Since many people are being diagnosed and put on treatment within a year, it's a fairly, it may seem slow, but it's fairly quick as far as these life-changing diagnoses that these patients are receiving, and then making changes to ensure that they're able to follow through and continue with treatment, maintain a healthy and happy lifestyle, and kind of adjust to their new normal. So that's been incredibly rewarding. And I started that back in September.
I could also go. So first off, getting into nutrition, uh, during my undergrad, as part of like the public health course, we had to do a trimester where in the third semester we would go out into the community and be in nutrition facilities or like small clinics within those communities. And over there, you would get to get first-hand experiences of how nutrition plays a big role in people's lives. So we also have the school feeding program to help kids at least get one hot meal a day in school so that they could focus. And through that experience, I saw how direct nutrition played a role in everything we do. So that got me thinking about nutrition and health and why I wanted to do or go further into nutrition. Then in URI with the classes in nutrition assessment and public health, that which stood out to me as well. And they made a big impact to me, especially with my research with Dr. Isaac Agbemafle and Dr. Emin in WIC. So they have a project on upscaling WIC retention. And with that experience, with that during that study, we got to go out to the WIC clinic, speak to mothers, and look at their kids who came to the WIC program, got their experiences as well, and all this add up to build my desire to go further into nutrition and find ways to help people with using food especially. So this exposure helped me see how nutrition works both at the clinical level and the community level. Another thing that played a big role in directing me is like mentorship. So working with Dr. Agbema Flair, working with professors at URI, Dr. Larson, Dr. Amin, I got to ask questions and find out how to reach certain points and also got the opportunity to join them in projects as well. So it's a mixture of so many things happening and experiences that I would say has gotten me to this point right now. Don't get me wrong, I don't have it all figured out. There's still a lot I'm learning and trying to find out where I actually fit.
And I'll just comment. So my first year when I started at Wellness Workdays and I was a wellness dietitian, was going out, like I said, to clients, giving presentations, running multi-week behavior change programs, doing some one-on-one coaching. And I was also working at a women's gym counseling. So I did that for a year and I really enjoyed the one-on-one counseling, but it also was a little tiring, and it just took a lot out of me. So I was becoming more interested in more of the design aspect and, how are we, not why are we delivering these programs, but how are we coming up with which programs we should be delivering and what all goes into that. So I took WellCert, which is a 4-step certification program about workplace wellness. And it talked a lot about, again, how you come up with that design, how you're assessing the population, coming up with a strategy, then you implement the programs, and then you're evaluating to, potentially improve or change as needed as the population changes. So that was really interesting to me, kind of all of that goes on behind the scenes and how you develop programs that are really going to have an impact. And I think as a registered dietitian, spending so much time in school learning about readiness to change, there was a lot of opportunity to educate my clients on how behavior change takes time. So a lot of times when we would speak with a client, they would want to see outcomes, you know, in the next month. And so we would have to provide a lot of education on how that takes several years in order to see those shifts in your population and see some of those risk changes that they were looking for. So I think being able to kind of partner with clients and guide them and having my background just felt like a really good fit. But I would say the certification really kind of helped me take off and solidified my decision for where I wanted to be.
Thank you all. And you're all doing things that are very different from one another. So if a few of you could just kind of lay out, what does a typical day look like for you? What is rewarding? What's challenging in your position? And what might someone want to know if they were interested in what you're doing?
I could go first. So, a typical day in my role as a dietetic technician involves mainly working with patients, reviewing diet orders, ensuring meals align with medical needs, and collaborating with dietitians and the healthcare team of the patient. So, depending on the day, I may be working more directly with patients or focusing on documentation, that is, screening patients' nutritional risk level. And what I find most rewarding about being able to contribute in patient care is sometimes there are definitely patients that, because of their circumstances, may be mean, but you meet a lot of nice people as well that really appreciate the work you're doing with them because like I've mentioned earlier, food plays a big role in our health and especially with recovery. So maybe after a surgery, patients will need to be on uh, like intestinal rest food. So that means they will not be having a lot of meals or smaller portions of their meals, and this can make anyone upset that you're not getting satisfied. But some people recognize this and see how we benefit them as well. Um, that's mostly it for a typical day. And yeah,
I can go. Um, so my day-to-day activities for my current role vary. I would say it's a lot of multitasking. Right now we have the farmers market nutrition program that's starting up. So we're conducting trainings for new farmers, processing their applications. I'm also working with our current vendors, new vendors, so processing their applications. I might go out and conduct a monitoring visit, which is an on-site inspection. And at the same time, I'm constantly reviewing new food items for our approved product list. So it's a lot of different tasks throughout the day, which is what I love about it, but that can also be what's challenging about it. Trying to prioritize and complete one task while I'm thinking about three other ones at the same time. But it keeps me busy, makes the day go by quick. And I would say the most rewarding part is just being able to help people and integrate my background as a registered dietitian into the work that I'm doing. So right now we just completed food package rule changes. So we updated our food packages for the WIC program to include a more diverse and group of food items to help meet the needs of our participants and their families. And so that's been a really rewarding experience for I think our whole team right now, just to be able to provide nutritious foods and foods that people like, that people want to eat and make for their families.
And so my day is it again, it can vary day to day. A lot of meetings, I will say. So meeting with our clients to talk about, how their program is going. We present every month to each client. We present key performance indicators. So we're looking at their participation, any health risk changes or outcomes that we can share, feedback and strategic recommendations for them as well to help their programs continue to grow. Most of our clients have on-site health coaches. So I also manage our team of health coaches. And so it's a lot of meeting with them as well to talk about, what they have going on for the week, any challenges that they could be running into, helping to, come up with new initiatives to get people involved and
It's
participating.
fine.
In the past 6 years,
My mom said
Wellness Work Days started working with a lot of construction companies and getting more involved in the industrial setting. So we now also have athletic trainers that are on site at a lot of our construction clients, and they help with the injury management piece. So any acute injuries that happen day to day, they're involved in that, but they're also trained as health coaches to help, from the preventative side as well. So I've been helping to kind of grow that program over the past 6 years, and it's been very challenging, a new field for me for sure. We've learned a lot, but it's also been really interesting and has kept the pace going quickly, which is something that I enjoy about my role.
And I would say on my end, for my role, I spend probably about half my time talking to patients or doing patient follow-up. So checking in on the process of getting approvals for insurance, making sure that patients are receiving their medication and staying with the regimen, and checking in on that. Otherwise, I spend a lot of time working with my team and our account executives and sales team on how to streamline the process to make sure physicians are doing everything on their end to get patients through the treatment process, as well as with our side of things, so the drug manufacturing. So basically making sure that start to finish patients are able to be diagnosed, enrolled, and receiving treatment, since it's an ongoing treatment and that will continue for the rest of their life. We want to make it as easy of a lift on their end as possible. So it's definitely a lot of work one-on-one with patients, but also within my team.
Thank you all so much. I want to make sure that we have enough time for students to ask questions. So my last question is more of a rapid fire. What is one piece of advice that you would give to undergrad students? What's something that you wish you knew before graduating? And I'd love to hear something from everybody.
I'll go. And this is just based on my personal experience and my specific career journey. I would say learn another language and become fluent. Um, I speak some Spanish, and I can tell you I use it a lot. So I'm always working towards becoming fluent, and it's something I wish coming into this career, I just would have known how important it was, how much I would use it, how many more connections I would be able to make with my patients, my community, my coworkers. So just that's what I would say, learn another language.
Um, for me, one thing I wish I knew before graduating was like seeking out experiences. Although I got some experiences, I realized how important it is to go out for them early. And not everything has to pay you, but just getting the opportunity to get that experience plays a big role. I remember it could be any experience as well, but it could build on your skill. I remember with the interview I had to go through, I had to draw on past experiences working in a bar because I was dealing with people every day and they wanted to know how you deal with like someone who is mean or how you resolve conflicts, and all those things come together to play a role in increasing or bettering your skills in the work field.
I absolutely agree with the experience piece, but my other thing would be definitely utilizing whether it's your professors to do coffee chats with to find out more about their careers or other individuals who have careers you might find interesting. Network with them, ask about what they're doing, ask about how they got there. It's something that as I've progressed in my career, I've made a point to do more, and I wish I had started it earlier.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. And I think just also trusting yourself and the education that you have. And when I started at Wellness Work Days and was told I had to go on site, actually to Brown, was the first client that had to go on site and give a nutrition presentation. I felt so nervous because I was a brand new dietitian and I thought they are going to ask me questions that I'm not going to know the answers to. And honestly, almost didn't do it. And I think, really could have missed out on some great opportunities if I had listened to that voice in my head. So I think that's just something that I've learned, the every new opportunity that I've gotten, I've been nervous about. And so I think it's just, making yourself do it anyway and trusting yourself and trusting your education and your background. And that you do know what you're talking about and you are an expert. And people, want to hear what you have to say.
I love all of that so much. Thank you so much for sharing your experiences. I want to now open this up to questions. And I just sent over in the chat. If you haven't seen, you are welcome to unmute yourself to ask a question. You can send it to everyone in the chat, or you can send it directly to me or Kristen, and we will get those asked to the panelists for you. Oh, here we go. First one. How do you know when it's the right time to take the risk, especially career-wise? Anyone can answer this.
I can speak a little bit to this. So I've done a few career changes in the last couple of years, and I will say there's never a perfect time. I started my most recent job 7 months pregnant. So that was scary and starting something new while also knowing I had a lot of personal things going on at the same time. I think the biggest thing is if you feel like it's going to be the right move in the long run, having something be a little bit scary short term is where you grow, which it's not always an easy step to take, but something that is always very rewarding.
I also agree completely with Courtney, as in there's no specific right time, but opportunities present themselves usually at random times when you're not expecting them. And it's also a challenge to recognize that this is something you should go for. But once you feel that, or once you dwell on it for a while and think that this could benefit you, it's important to take the opportunity and make the most you can make out of it.
Thank you.
Professor Larson, you're muted.
Thanks, Fred. Um, I will hop in while hopefully some others send questions over in the chat. What is a skill that you use every day that you did not expect to need?
Um, so talking, like communicating in general, it's a very, very important skill. How you speak to someone, how you'd especially respond to someone. Because for the few months I've been working in the hospital, there are patients that's coming, like I've mentioned, upset, and you cannot get upset with them as well. You have to do your job and be professional. So how you speak to someone, um, learning from Professor Larson with the email, sending emails, receiving emails, your um, professional language online as well is really important.
I would agree absolutely with Fred. I think, and I see it a lot that working with different people in the different settings where there's poor communication and it can really have a negative impact on your workflow, your work environment. So, and now, this, for example, this panel today, it's virtual. I take phone calls, I send emails, I have virtual meetings. I think um, Ashley says she does a lot of meetings as well. I'm meeting with people face to face. So communication is a huge part of my job, and I need to do it well to do my job well. It sounds, I don't know, maybe like it's not, you would just think that you need it, but I don't think it's talked about enough and it's stressed enough. And like Fred said, professionally too, sending emails that are professional, maybe working with someone who's not happy with your program, or you have to give information to them that they're not happy or they're not ready to receive. So you really have to have strong communication skills, know when to listen, and kind of process the information before you respond as well. I think that's also a big part of being successful at your job, is being able to recognize when you need to stop talking and listen and process that information as well. But it definitely can have a positive or negative impact on your work performance, your work environment as well. So I would agree with Fred there.
Right. And
See, and I knew to stop talking. No.
I've got another question here. How do you build relationships in the workplace with coworkers on your first day or even patients who might be resistant to change?
I can speak to coworkers maybe on your first day. So I had I live in North Carolina now. I was in Massachusetts, and so I was going into the office for every day for the first 5 years that I worked at Wellness Workdays, and now I work remotely, and a lot of our employees do. So there needs to be a lot of communication, and we have ways to do that. We have emails, we have Teams, which is a chat service that we use pretty much all day long. And we do a lot of hiring. It's a smaller company that has grown pretty rapidly. So we have new employees onboarding all the time. So I think for the employees that have the best experience, the new employees, they typically are the ones to reach out. So people are busy throughout the day, and I can speak, for myself. Sometimes I can be really busy and I can be on meetings, and I'm not thinking about the new employee that's starting on site at a client that may need that additional support. And you, of course, will schedule check-ins and things that you may need to catch up with them. But for those employees that just take the time to reach out and say, either they have a question, or maybe what I really prefer and what I really value is employees that will come with new ideas, creative ideas. Doesn't matter if it's an idea that won't work for whatever reason, just that creativity and putting yourself out there as someone who's new to say, this is what I'm seeing as someone who's new on the team, and I'd love to try to implement this. That goes a really long way. So I think, taking that initiative to problem solve, to troubleshoot, and then if you need that support, not being afraid to reach out and ask for it, whether it's virtual or ask your, supervisor to set up a meeting. Oftentimes they are happy to do that. And it may have just been something that slipped their mind because they have, other responsibilities.
Right, and I think we have time for one more. So, what are challenges that you face and how do you face them?
I think in my role specifically, we run into a lot of challenges with insurance approvals. So, specifically in that case scenario, it's a lot of troubleshooting and working with all aspects of the team. So, making sure to communicate with the doctor, the patient, and the internal team to work through what is causing the denials and making sure that we can achieve those approvals. Since without those approvals, medications cost hundreds of thousands of dollars and are unaffordable. So it's very much so, it can be a tricky situation since these patients are desperate to get on the medication and to start treatment, but we need to follow the correct path to approval or we run into more issues. So definitely communicating with the team and everyone involved and making sure that we just do our best to troubleshoot and do it in a timely manner.
Challenges that I run into with my role sometimes will be, not meeting client expectations. So, maybe they were expecting a certain participation for an initiative that you put out, or they're not seeing the outcomes, like I said, as quickly as they would like to be seeing them. So, I think that really goes back to communication. I've had to really work on um, communicating, identifying what the issue is, staying positive, and then communicating with the client in a way that makes them feel like they're heard and that we're on top of it and we're going to address whatever issue is at hand. But also sometimes providing that education, like I said, and leaning on, my background as a registered dietitian and knowing how behavior change takes time and just, taking the time to provide that education as well. But I think it's all how you communicate, and sometimes it can feel nerve wracking, especially if it's a big client and you want to, be doing a good job, but just being sure that, you're communicating in a nice way and that they feel like they're being heard has gone a long way. And so typically the challenges don't feel as big as long as you're building those relationships along the way.
Well, thank you so much to Ashley, Courtney, Fred, and Sherry for spending some part of your Monday morning talking to our students about your careers. And thanks to CCEE for coordinating this and bringing in these incredible speakers. And thank you for joining this session. I hope you got some helpful information. And if you have any follow-up questions, you can direct those questions to Kristen, and I will have her drop her contact in the chat so you can grab that if you need anything. But thank you again. It was so great to see all of you. Glad you're all doing well, and have a great week, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.
So, bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye bye.